Evercade is rapidly becoming a genuinely relevant player in the console lineup. What sets Evercade apart from the other consoles and emulation devices is that Evercade provides officially licensed retro games, which means every game you buy is completely legal and has passed proper quality assurance checks. You also get some modern indie titles running natively on the hardware, which is super cool, so it's a platform in its own right. Now, there are some great carts, most containing several games, and recently we've even seen the introduction of Giga carts, allowing 32-bit games like the original Tomb Raider trilogy to come to the system, and there's potential for more. I wonder if we might even get some Dreamcast games at some point. Not sure yet. A little further back than that, of course, we also saw the introduction of arcade cartridges, which feature licensed arcade ROMs, which means you're basically carrying an old-school amusement arcade in your pocket. Despite all of this, the Evercade's game library seems to be missing something, and I hope we can all agree it's Sega. From Sega's handheld Game Gear console through to oddities like the Mega Drive's 32X add-on, there are so many great games that are just being lost to time, perhaps due to modern TVs being unsuited to low-resolution 2D and early 3D visuals, but all that goes away if you play old games on a small enough screen. And if that doesn't describe the Evercade and the Hyper-Megatech Super Pocket devices perfectly, I don't know what does. And since Sega has been all about re-releasing its old games in various collections for some 15 years now, I can't see any reason why we can't get the following. So, let's start with the smallest games. Sega Game Gear Collection 1. Game Gear was a 1990 competitor for Nintendo's Game Boy and featured full-color graphics that essentially ran on miniaturized Master System hardware. Games like the original 8-bit Sonic the Hedgehog and its first two sequels, well, and the rest, why not, would be wonderful on Evercade. So too would the classic Disney platformers Castle of Illusion and its phenomenal sequel Land of Illusion. I'm not so keen on the third one in that series, Legend of Illusion, so I don't mind if we get that or not. But there's also the Lucky Dime Caper starring Donald Duck, and of course its sequel, Deep Duck Trouble. Having played these games through recently, I can confirm that they're still as playable as ever, and the Mega Drive mini consoles proved that the Disney license can still be used in the modern era, even for these old games. Game Gear also had decent ports of Ristar, Gunstar Heroes, and even Dynamite Headdy. Honestly, it was good on Game Gear. I would leave off Sonic Drift and its sequel though. I'm sure Sega would include them because they always do, but I'm not too fussed. GP Rider is a good game and I've got the Japanese version here, especially with its quietly snuck-in conversion of Super Hang-On tucked away in the menu screen. Puzzle classics like Columns, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and Baku Baku Animal would be perfect for the hardware as well. There are also a few decent RPGs on Game Gear, like Defenders of Oasis, Axe Battler, and the early roguelike Dragon Crystal. Add in GG Shinobi for some side-scrolling platforming fun and its sequel, and perhaps a renamed Super Monaco Grand Prix, and it would be an instant purchase for me. Okay, my next idea is Sega Rarities Collection. I think several games didn't get the audience they deserved when they came out because they were released on failing hardware. Any 32X game would be welcome on Evercade, especially hard-to-find rarities like Knuckles Chaotix, known affectionately as the Sonic game without Sonic in it. It could also include the wholly Sega-owned Virtua Racing Deluxe, which is a more polished version of the original home conversion of the breakout arcade 3D racing hit, Virtua Racing. So too the 32X version of Virtua Fighter, and, if the license allowed, Star Wars Arcade. That's a Sega-produced title, so perhaps there would be a chance. Then there are Mega CD classics like Sonic CD and Jurassic Park, both perfect for the GigaCart treatment. Sylphid VR, or Sylpede, however you pronounce it, would also look decent on the small screen. There's definitely potential here. Now, who wouldn't want Sega Arcade Collection? The list of utterly brilliant classic Sega games is longer than my arm, but with just a little tweaking to avoid licensing issues, there could be an absolutely essential Evercade release here. Superscalar games like Outrun, Super Hang-On, Space Harrier, and Afterburner 2 are the ones that immediately leap to mind. But you've also got later examples of superscalar games like Power Drift, Radmobile, and Outrunners, all of which have been released in recent years on other platforms, namely 3DS, Sega Astro City Mini, and Arcade 1-Up respectively. Speaking of which, you can add Turbo Outrun to this list, one of the few classic Sega arcade racers that I've personally never played, but perfect for Evercade with its relatively low-resolution 2D graphics. Super Monaco GP's arcade version has never had a home console release, likely due to the Monaco name requiring a license in these less cavalier times, but I'd be well up for that, whatever it's called. Then there are side-scrolling arcade classics like Fantasy Zone, Shinobi, Golden Axe, and some of the rarer examples from the Astro City Mini like Arabian Fight. If more advanced classics like the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 2 could be included, that would be stellar. I don't know how far Evercade's tech can be stretched to deliver Model 2 arcade games, I'm not sure, but the EXP model and the Versus did have a tech stat boost over the original handheld Evercade, so there is some headroom there, but Model 2 games would be amazing. So, speaking of which, Sega Model 2 collection. It's a big if, but if the Evercade can run them, who wouldn't pay for a cartridge with Sega Rally Championship, Daytona USA, Manx TT Superbike, Virtua Cop, The House of the Dead, Virtual On, Fighting Vipers, Sonic the Fighters, Last Bronx, Virtua Striker, Indy 500, and Virtua Fighter 2. That is a phenomenal lineup of classics. I doubt they'd release them all on one cartridge, but basically they could release each one as a standalone cartridge and I'd still buy them. Sega, I hope you're listening. Or of course there's always the potential for the simpler route of Sega Collection 1, 2, etc. Basically the usual mix of Mega Drive classics you see on Sega Classics collections, and there's no reason why you couldn't put Master System games in there as well for Alex Kidd and the like. I don't need to go through the games you might find on this collection because we've all seen and played them 100 times now, all the way back to the PS360 era. And finally, while the emulation element may be tricky, a Sega Saturn collection or series would be amazing because so many Saturn games are just being lost to time. If you follow my Sega Sundays Let's Play series, you'll know that there are so many great games on Saturn. We could have a Panzer Dragoon collection with Panzer Dragoon, Panzer Dragoon Zwei, Panzer Dragoon Saga, and even the Game Gear only Panzer Dragoon Mini to cap it off, not that anyone would actually play that seriously. Or how about a Sonic Team collection featuring Nights into Dreams, Christmas Nights, Burning Rangers, Sonic 3D Blast that had that Sonic Team developed 3D special stage, and Sonic Jam. Sonic Jam has got that amazing 3D Sonic world that acted as a test for Sonic Adventure, complete with museum features, and the first 4 Mega Drive Sonic games, complete with lock-on compatibility. Or we could have a Sega Sports collection with Sega Worldwide Soccer, Victory Goal, Athlete Kings, Winter Heat, NHL All-Star Hockey, Steep Slope Sliders by Cave, of all people, and the home console ports of Sega Rally, Daytona USA, and more. I feel I'm running out of breath. There are so many great games that Sega could put on Evercade. So as you can hopefully see by now, if Sega got involved with Evercade in any way at all, the results would undoubtedly be superb, bolstering both Evercade's patchy games library and boosting Sega's IP visibility as it seeks to rejuvenate its classics, which it's actively doing. And since the chances of Nintendo making an Evercade cartridge are zero, and Capcom has only wanted to do built-in games instead of a cartridge series, Sega is the biggest possible jewel Evercade hasn't already acquired. We can but hope. Well, what games would you like to see on Evercade? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and take a look around my channel for more gaming videos, including that new regular Sunday series of Let's Play videos called Sega Sundays, where I play a different classic Sega game on original hardware every Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.